Awesome. All right. Well, hi everyone. My name is Julian. I am here with a client of mine, a person I've gotten to know well over the past 4 months, has it been, or 5 months? It's Elizabeth Jewell. Elizabeth is a client of mine, like I said, who is a senior leader at a very large healthcare provider based out in the East Coast. And most importantly, I think for this discussion today, Elizabeth, in my eyes, has had some amazing growth and just clarity in her leadership growth in her profession and life overall. That I thought would be wonderful if she could, talk a little bit about that journey, maybe what she's been through, and just some of the results that she's experienced today. So, with that, hi, Elizabeth.
Hello. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So, Elizabeth, would you mind sharing just a bit about who you are, what you do, and maybe what even prompted you to engage in coaching in the first place?
Sure. So my name's Elizabeth. I am in my mid 40s and have really focused the majority of my life on medical education and then the care of patients. And over the past 3 to 4 years was promoted within the Department of Surgery to take on leadership roles that have been very successful, have had some very successful projects, and was invited to participate in a leadership course. I really had no intention of being part of a coaching program, but this was part of the leadership course. And so Julian and I found each other and we've started our coaching journey, and it's been amazing over the past couple of months.
Awesome. I think you bring up a great point, right? So we weren't looking for coaching in particular, but your company, the company you're a part of, has a leadership development program. And so coaching seemed to be a benefit of that. We got paired up together, and it has been enjoyable from my seat as well. I really appreciate it. I appreciate growing people, but especially emerging leaders, or quote unquote people that are developing in their practice, in their skill, in their job, but also just across life. And I call myself a holistic coach. I try to just make sure that we talk through, your growth overall as a person, as a human. And so, okay, I appreciate that backdrop. Now, so you talked about you weren't looking in coaching, but were there any key challenges or, items in life or business you were facing before we teamed up together and kind of start delving in that you'd be open to share?
Yeah, sure. So I think when we started coaching, I was in a space where I was very good at working with peers and direct report. What I wanted to work on was really the management reporting up and leading up, as they say, and really moving into that space of working with higher level leadership, more senior and visible project within the institution, while still maintaining visibility with my, ongoing staff and, everyday life, if you will. So that was a space that I entered into, is that I really needed help navigate how to lead up, and really assume these responsibilities within an institution that, I was a new face within these leadership areas.
Yeah. Managing different personalities, managing different expectations. That is that resonates for me, is what we talked about a lot throughout many of our sessions. And what was it about that, from your perspective, Elizabeth? What was it about that was important to you, or what did you notice? What did you feel? I guess I'm trying to get at like the culture. What did you feel that you were navigating, where it was important to you to manage up, and what was that process like, I guess, to work through some of those scenarios or situations, or work through some of those challenges?
Well, I took this leadership course at a really unique time in history. So this was during COVID, and what I think was really interesting about this leadership course is that I was in a space where I was no longer working within the confines of what we had done, that it was a very transformative time. And so new ideas, bold ideas, innovative ideas were all being considered within an institution that normally was very slow to adopt and change, and kind of had a system and a culture that was pretty consistent. And so what was important about this leadership course was how to maintain tradition and that older culture, and yet we were being forced, whether or not we wanted to or not, into this new modernized world that COVID had kind of pushed us into. So the leadership course helped me transition, an old guard, a new guard, a post-COVID world, and how do we communicate with all those different new needs.
Yeah, lots of new. You talked about modernizing and kind of getting navigating just some of the changes that this pandemic has put you and a lot of us through. What were some of those key takeaways, I guess, on how to do that? I'm saying this with the backdrop of knowing that personalities came into play. You've had to manage the different kinds of leaders while managing up and resolving conflict and rolling out new ideas. Were there any key takeaways from your perspective or experience that you think would be valuable to call out?
Well, for me, within my organization, key elements to change here were really making changes that were visionary, but at the same time needed. So not change just for the sake of change because everyone else is changing, but really identifying problems, recognizing that we were working with new confines, for example, remote work from home, Zoom meetings, et cetera, and kind of executing projects that were novel, but really identified a problem and a need that needed revision. And that this leadership course helped me navigate that, how to stay with the old guard and how to, recognize that we're skating to a puck that many didn't even recognize didn't anticipate. So where the puck is versus where the puck is going. And we were really looking at things as to where they were going.
As a Philadelphia guy, can I just say I love the Wayne Gretzky quote there? I think that's so profound and timeless and true. And I've seen you navigate thinking through some of those novel solutions and managing the balance of navigating those change through all those different personalities and so on and so forth. So
well, it was about bringing people that couldn't recognize that with you through this journey. I mean, when we first started COVID, a lot of people thought we were going back to the way it was going to be. We'd be in this for 6 months and then out of it. And so it was really a process to bring people through to where that puck is going and how are we going to navigate this together and why do you need to do this? And that was a huge benefit of talking through and how to message it out to the whole audience.
Absolutely. 100%. Okay. So I wanted to talk about you a little bit more in detail if I could, because one thing I've seen from you in the past 4 months is you can be on call for surgeries, in 1 minute, and then in the next minute, you're leading some kind of major strategic initiative or, doing a presentation for it or answering questions or trying to get buy-in and so on and so forth. And so how rather did you feel about the support from our coaching as a very busy professional, a practitioner, and on the administration side? How did you feel supported throughout our coaching sessions?
I felt well supported. I think what I loved about our coaching sessions is it was working through some real life issues, but with concrete how to. You in particular, you never pushed me on how to problem solve. It was kind of working through the issue and what was going to be best for me and my organization. How was it going to be successful? I really appreciated that. But I think the point around the coaching is there were some we would come together with a hot topic of the week or over the past 2 weeks and really be able to come out of that 1 hour session with a solution, if you will, or how to handle a certain scenario. It was very concrete with great examples, which is what I was looking for.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I think that's something about just not being rigid or overtly rigid, having a structure. To your point, having concrete approaches, but something you alluded to but didn't say, right? To me, you're in the driver's seat, and to most coaches, our clients, it's about you. You're in the driver's seat. What's going on that week, that day, that's most important for you to focus on is our priority, is the focus. The uniqueness here, from my perspective, is I just I see how much you have and had on your plate throughout our coaching engagement, and you've been very clear in your communication for scheduling, but you've never seemed to put this on the back burner either. Like we've kept our appointments, and you've been very communicative. I just think that's a very unique disposition for someone who is very, very busy and productive at the same time as being busy. So appreciate that feedback, Elizabeth. Okay, so I want to make sure we celebrate like what actually happened. So we've been together for 4 months, right? I've seen, like I said, some amazing growth both in your work and personal life. And so, I wonder if you'd be okay sharing just a little bit about, in terms of your influence or the boundaries or the leadership or managing up, whatever you experience to give you a greater sense of and maybe reality of success in those areas of your work and life.
Well, I think these coaching sessions were fabulous because it actually slowed me down a minute. And what I mean by that is it really forced me to have time to reflect on different scenarios or different goals. And in that space, and also with the help of the leadership course itself, you know, over these past year to 6 months to 4 months, whatever it might be, the timeline, I really sat down and solidified what's the next chapter here. So I was definitely in a transition period, going from busy clinician or to end administrative hat, and then trying to really figure out what are the next steps and what are the next chapters. And the coaching sessions allowed me to morph into, spacing out a little bit time so that I have time to do the administrative role now. I have time to do the clinical role now. And we did it with, I think, grace. And I guess what I'd say is I was on a gerbil wheel, not really knowing how to structure these leadership roles. And at the end of this leadership course, we've gotten to a space where it's a very structured, defined, role and responsibility that I've now taken on. It's no longer, Elizabeth's doing great projects here or great projects there. There's titles around it. There's recognition around it. There's time dedicated to it, which honestly, we talk through all those different scenarios on how to, achieve that and have others recognize worth.
That is powerful. And I just 100% on all of that. I've seen that from my seat looking, from the outside in, so to speak, right, in your world. And I also appreciate what you're saying, right? This has also been a longer runway than just the time you and I have been together. And that's how I feel most of my clients and I intersect. I typically work with folks that are growers, and you probably have a picture in the dictionary next to the word growth or grower, because you were already doing that. You were navigating transformation, you were growing in your own personal life and work. And I think that's so powerful of a statement to make. And that the world outside of you also is now able to respond to that growth. There's more structure, to your point. I guess just on that thought process, Elizabeth, what does that do for your vision of your leadership, right? With the legacy that that you want to have, that you want to create, or that you want to leave behind?
Well, I really transitioned from doing translational work to transformative work. And that was a big difference. And in that space, the legacy that I've wanted for my leadership role has been one of fairness, one of excellence, one of high quality, one of hard work, and then also one that's framed all within the ultimate kindness and respect for each other. And each of the different projects that I've taken on, ways that we have executed them, the ways that they've been led, I have maintained my core value while still getting a great product. And that's been fun to do. To know that you don't have to get sucked in and absorbed into the system, that you can really set the tone of what the group is going to be doing and how it's going to be executed and then messaged. And I'm proud of that, because I'm proud then of the product, and I feel ethically proud and comfortable with what I'm putting out.
That is appreciated. That is so powerful. I am so glad, as a healthcare professional that you are, the practitioner that you are, for you to feel proud of your work, a work that's already admirable, that is, there's valor there, there's honor there. You are changing the lives of your patients for the better. And to hear you feel that same bettering of your own life is significantly important to me. And I'm so thankful that you have done that and you feel that in your life. And so I'm not, let me get away from the mushiness here. Let me just ask this question to you, right? So I think that's powerful. I think the question I would ask you, just as we wrap this up, is typically the people that I'm looking to work with, people that we work with, are, like I said, they're already growing like you were. They're already on a journey of transformation, or they want to be on a journey of transformation. But when it's in a healthcare space, in the culture of healthcare, for practitioners or clinicians, whatever the title may be, there is a culture where people struggle. I in my experience, listening to anyone that's maybe not in the profession or not in the industry. I don't know if you've seen it or experienced that. I want to ask, from your perspective, is there anything that you'd say to a client that maybe we're talking to, or just to other healthcare professionals, on what the benefits might be in looking for a leadership program like your company has brought on board, and or them working individually with a coach to help them, to your point, slow down to speed up?
So, Julian, what I will say is that you were not my first coach. I went on a bad first date, and I knew that it wasn't going to be I knew it was not a good fit. And then I kind of went through profiles again, and you were the coach that came up. And I think what I really valued, you didn't have healthcare background, but I didn't need that. What I needed, somebody understood where my personality type, right, could quickly understand the atmosphere or the environment that I was working in, which is what you did. And then you have, life experiences from your military time and your expertise in coaching, all of which were applicable to the hospital environment, right? And the players in the hospital environment. And that is what I really valued. I did not need somebody that understood the medical language. It was really somebody that understood humanity and had an understanding of business. And that was really valuable to me in our coaching sessions. I actually was looking for somebody that had more of a business realm about them, because as you moved up in the leadership world, it was less about the lab values and the imaging and much more about the skill set of how to lead and manage and navigate politics and all the other things that you can't study. And that was super valuable to me. And that's what I liked in my coaching session. And there was education around it. Where are you fitting on the spectrum of change? What is your personality type? How do you deal with others that are different personality types? Verbally responding, et cetera. And that was really great.
Elizabeth, thank you so much for your insights. I think that's just going to be powerful for anyone who watches this video and gets a little bit of a taste of, what's worked for you, because they can relate in their own journey. So you've been gracious in sharing your experiences here. And you've also been gracious in the whole process in this whole coaching engagement, which I believe is a telltale for growth. So I'm great. I'm not only grateful, but I am looking forward to what you do to sustain the growth you've already had, but to further that growth and to hit your objectives, to create the legacy that you want. I'm just thankful, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you in the future and seeing what you do with your life.
Well, thank you.
All right. You have a good night.
Okay. Good night.